Alright, how's it going? I wanted to make a little late night off the cuff video. Um, I was thinking about Professor Dungeon Master's video, and a couple people have been making videos about is D&D tube dying? You know, is it going away? Has interest waned on Dungeons and Dragons? Um, it seems to be the case. Um, that attention is at least dying down for Dungeons and Dragons specifically. And as someone that I never really got into 5th edition, I don't really like it. But that having been said, I can see, how it would have an appeal, and I can notice how that appeal seems to have or be fading away, right? Now, but does that mean that the game itself, right? Are less people playing Dungeons and Dragons, or are they just not watching videos about it anymore? Maybe they're just more interested in other TTRPGs. I certainly am. It could just be the case that we're now so saturated in these new TTRPG options that it's just drawing attention away from the sort of spotlight of the main actor, right? Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and in fairness, there's a lot of great TTRPGs out there now, right? That are worth picking up and learning more about. Um, this kind of environment that we're in. As someone who's been playing Dungeons and Dragons for, man, close to, or at least 35 years now. I've never been as inundated with extra content, right? So it could just be, is it really dying? Interest in TTRPGs themselves seems to still be going pretty strong, right? If it's any indicator that we have all these TTRPGs now. So is it just Dungeons and Dragons specifically that people have finally kind of gotten bored with, right? And that could be it. I mean, we talk a lot about OSR scandals and all that stuff, but it could just be that people are just fucking bored with D&D, which I kind of tend to lean on because I don't fucking like 5th edition, right? So I thought it was boring right off the bat. But it's important to note, I would say, that D&D has died before. And when 4th edition came out, everybody hated it, right? And we all started playing Pathfinder, which was basically just a continuation of 3.5, right, or 3rd edition. Um, and we were all pretty happy with 3rd edition. I mean, it was a great edition, right? And so D&D, died, right? Or at least it became not the most popular game. Pathfinder took over for a while, and we all played Pathfinder for years. And then 5th edition came out, and we kept playing Pathfinder, right? But 5th edition came out, and a lot of new people got into the game. I tend to think it was because of Stranger Things, but for whatever reason, it became much more popularly acceptable, right? And so it came back, right? After 4th edition, 5th edition came out, and suddenly D&D was back, right? It was back in the premier spot and bigger than ever, or as big as it had ever been, right? So, does it even matter, right? As long as everybody's still playing D&D or playing, TTRPGs, we're all kind of still playing D&D. Like, interest has not waned. Is the D&D tube, YouTube videos dying? Man, part of me, honestly, part of me is just like maybe and fucking good, because there's a lot of terrible ass D&D videos out there, right? It's just people making content to make content, kind of like this. But sometimes it's just like, what's the best magic item for a 3rd level rogue? It's who fucking cares, man? Like, that's not the game it's about, really. I mean, those kind of videos I can't stand, and like, min-maxing, or what are the best whatever, what do they call them, tier ranking, ability. It's like, man, that's not the fun of the game, right? I mean, for some people I guess it is, if you're young still, but if that goes away, I'm just not upset about it. You know what I mean? Like, I like some of the dorkier videos where they talk about game mechanics and stuff, why Advantage sucks or why it's great. Those are fun videos for me. People talking about what's going on in the industry, or interesting, talking about how to play the new games, reviewing the new modules, and reviewing different systems. I like those videos, but those, and I don't want to list anybody specifically, but there's a lot of very popular D&D tubers that just, they're just trying to make content, and they make nice videos, but it's like such I don't know, uninteresting stuff. I guess if you're a new player, maybe that stuff is much more interesting. Hard to say, but if that goes away, I just don't fucking care, right? And it could just be that people are just less interested in that stuff, which is what a lot of the big D&D tubers post. It could also mean that, maybe interest has finally waned, and a lot of these people were tourists, right? All the tourists are leaving. As kind of an old grognard, there is a sense that a lot of these people that are now playing the game, it was always a passing fancy for them, and it's just something that's cool in the moment. It's a trend, and they've seized on the trend. Now that the trend is kind of dying, they're off to follow whatever the next trend is for them. Who knows, right? Maybe it's board games or back to video games, which kind of suck too. So who can say, right? If the tourists leave, if they are indeed tourists, I don't care about that either, right? To be honest, I mean, it's kind of, I tend to think it's good, whoever, even if you get tourists, as long as some of them stick around and play the game environment, all of us, the community, benefits from that in some way, right? There's just more players and more fun, right? More innovation, more demand for cooler games. I think all of that's a good thing. But, on the same token, people that just, kind of LARP as D&D players, which seems to be most of the people at WotC, who cares if they leave? They're not really contributing anything, as far as I can tell. I mean, like I said, some people are, some people aren't, but it's hard to see who's really in for it and really enjoys the game and wants to contribute to that community, and who is just chasing trends, right? It's just the flavor of the day. So it's hard to say, it's hard to know if we should even care if the tourists are leaving, but for whatever reason, it could just be, video YouTube views are down, right? For whatever reason. I mean, it could just be that it's saturated, and so the big channels have more competition. People bitch about the algorithms, like, fuck, I still get my, dozens of views. Whatever. It could be that, honestly, I don't think that D&D is dying, right? I don't think that it'll ever really die. It can go up and down in interest. It can wane. It can wag. Not everybody's going to be interested in Dungeons & Dragons at the same time all the time, right? At the same magnitude. When it pokes its head into popular culture, that's great. But I kind of come from a time when we played D&D for years when it was never cool, right? It was never fucking cool. You didn't. It was like pussy kryptonite. Like, you didn't tell girls that ever, right? You just did. You kept that shit to yourself. You're like, do you play D&D? No. Why? And you would just make a subtle joke about The Hobbit or something, and if they got it, you're like, do you party? You play D&D? So the extra attention is nice, but it's not required to sort of enjoy the community or enjoy the game. And even so, like I said, I don't think it will ever truly die, right? People will be playing. You'll find communities, and sometimes those tighter communities, are much, they're much friendlier. Like back when nobody played, you were so anxious, eager rather to play with people, that you weren't a judgy person, right? There's a lot of judginess now in TTRPG games. Where, if you say the wrong thing or if you support the wrong cause, which is generally everything to the right, you get like ostracized, right? And we would never do that when we were younger. And part of it is because it was just not a popular hobby, right? And now that it is popular, it's like some of the normies came in, or they don't seem like normies, they seem like fucking dorks, but these people that are just like judging everybody, right? And they love to make videos about each other. You know, this guy's a bad person. I remember I watched a video, somebody was like, the TTRPG hobby has like too many toxic males or something like that, right? It was like it has a masculinity problem or a toxic masculinity problem, and it's like, man, why even make that video? Like, what the fuck do you care? It seems like some fucking dork just like, okay, somebody didn't like, you know, whatever, right? They want big titty orc ladies and that's bad or something. It's fine if you want big titty orc ladies, whatever, right? But to make a whole video bitching about other people, like, that's a weird, like, new thing that this younger generation does, right? And so if that goes away, kind of fine with it, you know? If that part of Dungeons & Dragons dies and we're just left with, like, the core group of people who just like playing the game, and we'll play with conservative people, we'll play with very liberal people, like, we don't really care, right? As long as you're fun to play with and we can all get along and kind of, you know, have a few beers and just kick back and get away from life for a little while, man. That's where the fun is. Be imaginative, tell stories, listen to other people's stories. You know, I love playing the game as much as I love game mastering the game. Like, I like doing both. And that's what it was always about. And that, I think, the people who are really drawn to that and attracted to that, I think they will continue to play the game no matter what happens in D&D YouTube or D&D Tube. If the videos are popular or not, we'll still be playing the fucking game, right? And we'll find other dorks to nerd out with and play with, right? And everybody else, you know, if they move on to other things, well, good for them, right? I'm just not gonna miss them, right? So, I guess to wrap up in my own little ranty way, as long as we have enough people, right, there's always going to be a community of Dungeons and Dragons players, TTRPG players, and we will find each other, no matter how few of us or how many of us there are. There's always enough to find your little group, your little niche, and someone to dork out with on fantasy or sci-fi or, you know, whatever, right? You know, that part will never die. The popularity of it might go down, and some of the people might leave, and you know what, if they do, they probably weren't that into the game in the first place, right? And if it makes it a less judgy, condescending place, well, that's fucking great too, because that stuff's annoying, right? So I don't think D&D or TTRPGs are really gonna die, but maybe they just go through a little contraction in attention for a while, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it gets to be a cooler place, right? So, here's to hoping, right, that it doesn't truly die, it just becomes cooler, more personal, right? It gets rid of these judgy douchebags, man. Fucking tired of seeing that shit. Who makes videos about, I don't know, maybe that's a rant for another time. It's like, it's just one of those annoying things. Anyhow, 3 whiskeys was probably too many. I will see you around. Let me know how you feel about, you know, is it dying? Is it just going to be cooler? Is it just changing again like it has for many, many times over the past decades, right? Is it just a metamorphosis into a cooler, leaner, better D&D community? Maybe. Let me know what you think. I will see you around.